Everybody, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Let me see if I can adjust my settings here. So, y'all bear with me just a minute while I get my ducks in a row. Interwebs. Hold on just a second, folks. There are a few things. Unfortunately, depending on what I use, I sometimes wind up with with some issues on the system. Hang on just a second here while I get set up. I think I'm good in theory. Okay. So I don't know if anyone's seeing me or hearing me, depending on what platform you're on. So bear with me just one more second. This is a bit new software, so I'm kind of struggling. Here we go. Okay, I think I got myself squared away. And terrific. Hey, Watchman, how are you? Good to see you today. Let me make sure I got my stuff. So, I'm not seeing my chat. That's pretty awful. Well, I can see my chat on YouTube. Hello, folks. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys my take. I'm here. God. I've been bombarded because I. Those of you who know me know I own drones, and I recently, in the few months ago, took my FAA certification. Right now pending my background check, which takes like a month for some reason, um, which is stupid because I have like all sorts of other certifications. Hey, everybody. Hey, Loretta, Watchman, KP, um, Farmer, good to see you. Lioness, welcome. Um, I Because I was already had drones in my algorithm, I've been bombarded by different brands of drones, some of which are very cool, by the way. And I'm getting bombarded with the drone footage. Everyone's got drone video on. And for those of you who haven't seen me before, I'll give you a little bit of my background. I actually hold a Bachelor of Science in aerospace engineering. That was my undergrad. I also hold an MBA in management and logistics and marketing, and I'm working on a second master's program now. So, understanding physics and science, there are some YouTubers in general who have credentials like mine. There are not many preppers who are degreed engineers that are on YouTube. I'm also an FAA licensed drone pilot, so I can speak with authority quite a bit considering my background. Um, so I just want to throw that out there because inevitably I'm going to get a troll 2 weeks from now who's going to be like, "Well, how do you know all this?" That's how I know, and we'll leave it at that. Now that being said, hey, U.S. drone spying on Americans. Hey, Knight who says knee, Knight who says knee. God, I know that reference. That's awesome. Martial law and determined freedom fighters will be, in my opinion. Okay, I have a thought about that, but before I get into that, I've been watching the news now. I went to the mainstream media, who none of us fully trust anyway. And oh, hey, my chat finally showed up on the other screen. How nice is that? Hold on, I'm going to put a test chat in there. Well, apparently it doesn't. For whatever reason, my chat is delayed on YouTube. The YouTube chat's delayed on my Rumble app. So anyway, going back to my topic, um, I'm hearing from the mainstream media. There are a couple of things they're reporting. The drones are over populated areas, New York, New Jersey, right on the coast. Um, they're saying some of the drones are 8 feet wide or larger. Most of y'all have seen the little like DJI or the Holy Stone drones that you get at Amazon or at a store. And those are little guys, right? You can pick them up with one hand and walk away with it. An 8 foot drone's a massive drone. Um, they're saying that they're unusually fast, and they're saying they're seeing them at night more than in the day. So I want to give you guys some context as far as what you're looking at. So, technically speaking, a civilian drone that's under 249 grams or 0.55 pounds is considered a recreational only drone. You're still required to obey rules. You can't go flying into airports, stuff like that. That's obviously a no-brainer. In a general sense, even if you're recreational under the weight limit for personal recreation, you cannot fly over groups of people or traffic or highly populated areas without approval from the FAA. Then from 0.55 up to 55 pounds. Now, there's no wingspan requirement, but 55 pounds, um, you require either a recreational license, and then you cannot be paid for it, legally speaking. I mean, your friend can here, it's $100, take a video of my roof from the hail damage. That's technically you can't do that, but people do. But between 0.55 pounds and 55 pounds is considered a must register size drone, but there's no requirement for wingspan. So you could have a big ass drone that weighs 30 pounds, but it's 8 feet across. And technically, that is not illegal so long as you register it. And there are two types of registration, there's a recreational and there's a commercial. Now, I originally had a recreational license, which basically meant I had to obey some basic safety rules, couldn't fly into the airport, dumb things, don't crash into people's cars and houses, and I could use it for my own use or for education or for the advancement of science unpaid. So if I was following, say, I don't know, a flock of wild foxes out here in the desert, donated that video to the school, to the college at no compensation to me, was considered a advancement of science or an educational purpose. Now, if the college gives me free football tickets to see their game on Friday, I've been compensated. Are you guys kind of following me here? But that being said, wait, hold on. You guys took witnessing, right? And Watchmen, I'm going to go to that here in a minute. No, Neil, what I'm trying to do is establish what should be the case. I'm not going to go down the rabbit trail yet. I'm trying to give you guys the basis of what a lawful drone operator should be doing. And then I'm going to why I think there's something very wrong here, if you're tracking me. But we have to establish a baseline. This is going to be a bit different than my normal videos live because I'm approaching it more as an engineer than as my normal opinion piece, but I want to establish what should be done. Now, you can go over 55 pounds. That is considered a large commercial and it's completely legal. However, we're going to look at the ones that I'm dealing with between the 0.55 and 55 pounds. And hello, Teresa. Hello, Little Lone. So, as a commercial drone pilot, I can get a big drone, I can get a small drone. I have to have my lights on. I am not allowed to fly over 100 miles an hour. Most drones are kind of capped out at about 40. There's some bigger ones that go to 60. Um, like the police have some drones for like foot pursuits and what. Those things can move. Like they'll hustle and they're considered public. They're a different category. But could post my channel. Um, you were in the area. But yeah, and Holly, it must be annoying too. So that being said, I can fly during the day because I am licensed. I have to there's an app that I have to go through and say, "Hey, I'm going to fly my drone, I don't know, in the county park and I'm going to go over the lake." I have to let the FAA know cuz I'm actually in controlled airspace, air traffic control. "Hey, I'm going to be flying a drone in this area." I am limited to 400 feet above the ground, not mean sea level. The ground, or if I'm doing a work site, for instance, it's a 30-story building, I can go up to 400 feet above the 30-story building. But I cannot go, if I'm at ground level, I can't just fly up 800 feet. That's not allowed. This is what a legal drone pilot should be doing. Also, we are not allowed to fly 30 minutes after sunset and 30 minutes before sunrise, official sunrise sunset, right? By the book. So now, can I fly at night? Yes, I can fly at night, but I need to get a waiver. So there's a lot of layers to what we should have happening here if we're obeying the rules. Now, to Neil's point, why would a bad guy obey the rules? Well, they wouldn't. So I'm hearing reports now that the police in New Jersey actually sent one of their drones after one of these unknown drones or whatever it was, and they could not catch up to it. That the drone the officer had was more like a big civilian, which would be 40, 45 miles an hour, about 50 knots. And whatever was in the air was doing an excess of 70. There's one report, and I don't know how valid it is, that a police helicopter actually was called, but by the time the chopper got there, the drone was gone. He cleared out that fast. Large drones, if and now there are also reports that some of them are the size or the wingspan of what people said looks like the wingspan equal to a small car, which would be in the 12-foot range. That's a big drone. They do exist. They use them in agriculture quite a bit. They use them in engineering and land surveying. The question is, at night, absolutely, yeah, they do. Teresa and Mad Chat at 7 tonight. Wait, is Teresa on Mad Chat's channel or is Mad Chat on at 7? And if somebody, Mad Shad's one of my mods, if you can throw his, I'm in town right now, not sure I'll get home. I'll be listening. But okay, and they got the Watchman's good. So here's the thing. If I were to fly even my civilian drone, right, for a work purpose, let's say I had the brewery in town, right? We have a brewery here. It's got a really nice patio. They got all their lights up. If their marketing guy who knows me says, "Hey Pete, I want you to come out and do a Christmas video at night with all the lights on." I still have to get FAA clearance. "Hey, I'm going to do this. I can I'm going to fly around, not over people and not over traffic. And I'm going to do, like, up to, say, 100 feet. I'm just giving you a roundabout number. I'm going to look up to 100 feet. I'm going to do video snapshots so I can share it, and I'm being compensated." The FAA has to give me a waiver and say, "Hey, that's okay. You can do it between these times because there's a helicopter expected doing whatever business at such and such time, and we don't want you interfering with them." Now, normally, if you're under 400 feet, you're in Class G airspace, which is kind of a free for all. But if you're near an airport, you still have to let them know. If these guys are flying large 8 to 15-foot wingspan drones over populated areas, and they are not telling air traffic control, and they're turning their lights off when law enforcement shows up, there's something very wrong here. Now, they could be assholes, right? But let's back away from that. If I'm spending, okay, so your typical small drone would be 5 to 800 bucks, depending on what you get and the kit. There are some advanced thermal drones, like an Autel that is made in Germany. That's $3,000. The big DJIs and the big Autels that they use in agriculture and engineering, the 8-foot wingspan ones that look like a flying saucer, those go into the $8 to $10,000 range. If I was legit, the last thing I'd want to do is fly my really expensive drone in the dark with my lights on, being an ass over the wrong over the wrong place, and either have an accident and be held liable, or have my drone taken down by the Air Force and now I'm out 10 grand. Now, a state sponsor would not be worried about the 10 grand, would they? Knight, your engineering firm have an effective backyard EMP beam weapon built by Homefront Redneck Mad Scientistified Drones. Just curious. We actually, there's a non lethal option, a 12 gauge net shell. It kind of looks like what you'd see in the movies. It fires and it goes, and it deploys 4 little pellets with a mesh in between. And the idea is to wrap up the drone wings. You're going to make it crash, but you won't obliterate it like you would with like a slug, which would turn it into pieces. Um, but just saying, now, by the way, that is a felony. unless you've been authorized by the sheriff to do it. If you tell the sheriff, "I have a net shell," and the sheriff says, "Okay, you're authorized to take that down," that's different. I learned so many weird rules about drones and where you should or shouldn't fly. But point being, at the beginning of the video, those of you who snuck in like, "Hey, Billy," and by the way, I lost track of the chat, so sorry. You can make a have to use a directed energy layout. So you would actually need something like a dish. Oh God, I'd have to sketch it out. Hypothetically, I can see it because you can't do it like a Gauss tower with the two zappers. Because what you wind up doing is zapping the operator with the drone, which could be funny depending on how much you've been drinking, but you could actually hurt your friends. Um, but point being, even if it was, say, Amazon testing a large delivery drone, that's a $10 to $15,000 drone. That's not cheap. I would not want to break my drone being a dumbass. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to break my little drone that they're a few $100. That's still a few $100. I don't want to break my drone being stupid for good reasons, much less bad reasons. So I also want to go now, guys, in the chat, if you can share, the majority of the sightings I'm hearing are in Queens, Brooklyn, Long Island, Jersey, and Manhattan. Is there anywhere else where they're getting these uh, repeated reports? If you can share with me, that would be great. I gotta open up another screen here real quick while you guys comment on that. I just want Google Maps. What the hell? So most of us went. Hold on a second here. So what I'm hearing, convincing me that she and her daughter speak to the light in the sky. I had to tell my redneck husband not to do anything. Right, and Holly, actually, you could get a fine. What I would encourage you to do is let the sheriff know. So, yeah, so night, if you wanna use a physical, you could do a net shell. Those do exist. I don't know where you could get one. Um, the Army has a counter drone device, and it almost looks like the dish from the Millennium Falcon, if you understand that. I'm sure you get the reference. And it imparts what it does, it doesn't EMP the drone, it disrupts the signal that the drone's receiving for its instructions. So the drone has no instructions, and a lot of them will automatically land. They'll just shut down and they go to ground and they settle in the grass. And I think there's one in Pennsylvania that just hit the ground, and I think the National Guard may have used it, but they won't admit to it. So I just posted it. Hold on. Uh, I lost track of Neil. Neil posted something, but I can't see it. Oh, hey. Ah, okay. I got you. You posted it. Okay, good. Um, so in any case, now is there a drone that can go in and out of water? I have not seen one. That does not mean it's not possible. Theoretically, it is. You would have to change your pitch angle on your blades, and you'd need to have an engine that could handle the thicker fluid viscosity of water and then transition to air and change the blade pitch so you can take off in the air. It's conceivable, and I'm sure if you have enough money, you can absolutely make one. I just don't know how real it is, but I want to show or how commercially viable it is. I'm going to show you something here real quick. Bear with me just a second. Google Maps. There we go. So you should be seeing a map right now of. Hold on a second here. We don't need that tab. So you should be seeing a. Well, that didn't show up very well, did it? Hold on a second here. Hang on. There we go. Ta-da! Sorry, different software. Niels Hans Dynasty. There you go. Thank you, Teresa. The bigger brother. Yeah, Watchmen, they are big. They're very big. So I'm hearing a lot of the reports are in this area. And I know Fort Dix is here. The old Fort Totten is up here. Um, so what I did, I went to the aviation maps, and I don't know if you guys can see this. Nope. Let me gotta share the other tab now. That's a pain in the ass. Hang on a second here, my friends. There we go. So you should see a really weird looking map over my head right now. And that, nope, that over here is a aviation map. So that is a pilot's map. That's what drone pilots and everyone use. So you see these big blue lines. This is Class B airspace. This is highly restricted. And I'm going to zoom into where's LaGuardia? How can I not find LaGuardia Airport? Oh, there's LaGuardia. And I didn't know LaGuardia is classified as a Class B. Okay, so you have LaGuardia and you have JFK. JFK is the bigger one. LaGuardia is not small either. You see these rings tell you what the minimum and maximum altitude for those respective areas are. So, in other words, here it's saying between these two rings, Class B airspace is from 1,500 feet to 7,000 feet. And you see this red line running across here. That's actually Class E airspace. So, there's a bunch of overlapping airspace. Um, Now down here though, you see out here, these hash marks are actually heavy jets operating at 2,000 feet within 15 nautical miles of McGuire Joint Base. Okay, and this is what was bugging me is that there's a lot of overlapping military installations out here. See here, that's a military training location, right? This is civilian. This is Fort Dix right here. This is Tom's River. That's a populated area. Um, there's a lot of there's a lot of how shall I say interesting things going on, and of course, there's New York City in general. Um, could this be an attempt to probe air defenses? Yes, much like the balloon from what a year ago or a year and a half ago. Some of the most effective infiltrations are being done very low tech, right? As the United States, we're geared toward a near peer or fighting an insurgency. What we're not very well geared for is, and night now, the night who says knee, I'm going to have to look into that because that's super interesting now. Hit drones with radio waves. Yeah. And you could, and remember, you don't even have to take it down. If you disrupt its controller, you could wind up capturing a fully intact drone because they'll auto rotate to the ground, but it could also crash. So it goes both ways. In any case, as you saw in those maps, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, and there are some military training areas just offshore and on land. Now, those of you who grew up in New York or New Jersey or Long Island remember back in the 80s, the Grumman Lockheed plant was out in Long Island, and they used to fly the new F-14 Tomcats up and down the coast, and the kids loved it, right? We'd go out and watch the Top Gun jets go up and down. Um, but bringing in stuff for the insurgents. Well, the Watchmen, now there's an interesting thought because there are commercial drones. Let me see if I can find one that will carry up to 20 pounds of gear. And that's stuff I can get my hands on. If I had a state sponsor behind me, I could get a much larger drone with more capacity. It would be conceivable that a drone would fly in and especially low level where air traffic control is really not looking for it and deposit much like the drug dealers did back in the 80s, simply drop packages out of a plane back then like the what's that movie with Tom Cruise where he plays a drug runner who was supposed to bring weapons to the Contras but he became a drug runner anyway. It's completely conceivable that a drone could be brought in to deposit equipment or other bad stuff. Now, one thing that was brought up was the drone in a box technology, which we use in engineering. We use it in the oil and gas industry, in the solar fields, which is basically a drone that is uh, based inside a facility. Let me see if I can find it. Uh, Shoot. Okay, so I'm going to show you this website here, and this is something I've dealt with. Let me make sure you still see me. Okay, so you see that box. So what they'll do, let's say you have a bunch of oil and gas wells, or you have a solar farm, or you have some other infrastructure you want to do videos of on a regular basis to make sure nothing's leaking, nothing's on fire, stuff like that. They put a drone in a box, it charges with solar, and the drone will fly a pre programmed route around your area and check all your equipment and then go back. And then an operator remotely can take over if they see something wrong and decide if a human technician needs to go out there to a remote location. This is also used for security for corporations. It is absolutely within the possibilities of reality that you could put a bunch of drones in a shipping container in a vessel that is sitting offshore. The shipping container opens, the drones deploy, and off they go and do their drone things. The container closes. When the drones are done, they come back and they dive into the box and shut in again. Alternately, if the Coast Guard or the law enforcement gets too close to the drone, you kamikaze it into the water and let the Coast Guard try and figure out where it is. Because a small drone like this in Long Island Sound would be damn near impossible to find unless you physically watched it hit the water. So, a lot of interesting possibilities. Um, I might upload it to the channel. Mike, if you upload it to the channel, tag a few of the other creators in here and the mods, and we'll try and share it out if that's something you want to do. Sighting these drones as early as September, even here in Oregon. Right. So, Rip Curl, that and hey, good to see you, Rip. By the way, that then begs the question: uh, Is it our government testing stuff? Because you would think they'd want to keep it like in Area 51, somewhere where nobody can see it. Flying it over a population area is going to attract a lot of attention. And one thing I've noticed is the government, when they do, super secret squirrel projects, don't want to attract attention until they're ready to make it public. So, is it an idiot? Is it a foreign actor? Is it our government full of stupid people? Maybe. A few people have mentioned a project that references blue. Um, But people have already figured out these are drones, so it's not like, "Oh, this is a demon drone." No, it's a freaking drone. The question is to what end? And what concerns me the most is the audacity and the liberty at which these drones are just going in and out of all sorts of places, and local law enforcement really doesn't know what to do with it. Now, another hypothesis is that they're creating drone fears in order to expand the Patriot Act. They're like, "Oh, look, these drones are infiltrating our airspace. Let's scare the public." And then they say, "Oh, look, we have a new law for you that we can utilize to protect you from these scary drones." And ergo, all of a sudden, you now lost some rights. And what they did is use the drones to scare you, much like the Rona. The Rona will kill you, and it did kill people, sadly, but the Rona will get you. And oh, now we're going to restrict your ability to work and restrict your ability to fly and do this, that, and the other. Could it be? Possibly. I'll leave that to the conjecture of all of you in the chat. But as I pointed out at the beginning of this video, a legal licensed person, one, would not endanger a very expensive drone to be an idiot. If he does, then he deserves what he gets. But not allowed to fly over 400 feet, not allowed to fly over 100 miles an hour, 87 knots, not allowed to fly in controlled airspace without clearance, not supposed to fly over populated areas or people, not supposed to fly over airports without authorization, and supposed to have their landing lights if they're close to the ground so people know they're there and they don't get hit in the head with the damn drone. So, future fentanyl spray attack. Okay, night, that's something that is absolutely viable. If you look at the commercial, there are commercial agricultural drones that are being used to spray pesticides or fertilizer, depending on the application. Let me look real quick. I can't spell spray. Spray drones. Hold on a second here, my friends. That was useless. And okay, I'm gonna try to share this little screen, and they exist. And what's scary is they exist in the commercial space. So this is the Helio drone. By the way, this is a big drone. Like if you saw this flying over your house and you didn't recognize the type, it would scare the hell out of you, or you'd think it was a UFO. Um, so you can see it has radar, it has a video feed, it has the liquids or granular, so it can drop granules. Could also drop a powder to your fentanyl point. Now this one has a GPS. This one also has a transponder. And what the farms do is they get a special permit to fly over their farm at any time up to like 100 feet or whatever, depending on where they are. And as long as they don't leave the premises or go over their maximum height, they can fly these all day long. Now, the cost for one of these things is anyone's guess. I don't know what the cost is, but I know they're damn expensive. So, hey, Camo Coral. Hey, Hudson, what's going on? And sorry if I've lost you all in the chat. The chat keeps flying by. But in any case, so as I said, commercial drones, legal drones, even goofy teenagers with drones, under 400 feet, under 100 miles an hour, slash 87 knots. You can fly over water if you want. If it crashes, sucks to suck. Um, they are not supposed to fly over populated areas or over people in an open area without a waiver. Um, lights on. They're not supposed to fly 30 minutes after legal sunset and 30 minutes before legal sunrise, whatever it says in the books. Like formal sunset is, I mean, the sun, you can still see sunlight, but it's like 6, say. So you can fly till 6:30. You can't go up at 9 unless you have a waiver. There's a process for all this, and it's actually rather easy. That's the other thing. If I want to get a waiver to fly over an event, I can put in the waiver on the software and I can get FAA clearance within a day or less. So there's no need to be sneaky. And a drone, an 8, 12, 15-foot drone, they're 10,000, 20 grand. Those are expensive pieces of equipment. Why would you fly it overhead when you shouldn't, being an idiot? That leads me to believe there's a purpose behind it because they're just too expensive to be stupid. Now, on the flip side, if I was trying to do some kind of secret squirrel stuff, I would want to use a tiny drone because they're less noticeable, right? You hear a little zzz in the air. It's like, oh, an idiot has a drone, right? You hear this, this big monstrosity flying over your head that's the size of a freaking smart car. That's going to scare somebody and it's going to attract attention. Are they trying to scare us? Are they trying to obtain information and they need the bigger drone because it can carry what is needed to achieve their goals? That I do not know. I'd be speculating. But someone could use a small drone with radar. No, Knight, this is absolutely possible. And Knight's making some great points in the chat tonight. Um, the it is absolutely conceivable. Now the really small ones can't really carry anything. But you can get a slightly bigger one, for about a grand. Ukrainians are doing this right now. They're taking stock drones that are meant to drop like packages, and they're putting a mortar shell on it, and they're just, they're arming it and letting it fly away, and the mortar shell has that little fin in the back end. It won't. activate until it's moved a certain distance, and they'll just go and they drop it on the T-72s and T-90s and blow the hell out of them because the tank's not meant to take a hit from above like that. That's absolutely possible. Spraying contaminations is possible. Now, Hudson brings up a good point as well. If I'm flying as a legal pilot, if I want to fly a drone swarm, let's say I buy interconnected drones, right? And I want to do like a laser light show or whatever for the county. I still need to let the FAA know I need at least one spotter, if not two, to watch me, and then I can send them up and do my light show, right? But they need to know I can't just go throw, 50 drones in the air and just zip them around people's neighborhoods. That's a violation of the law. What scares me is air traffic control is having a problem catching this on radar because they're so damn small and they're so low, they're not always seeing them. So it's people are the ones picking it up. Right outside Grateful, New Jersey. Grateful if you post it, tag me. I'm super curious to see bug-sized drone to blow a hole in the head of a human man. Um, so that I think was taken from a movie, but then someone actually replicated it in real time uh, to find a drone. Oh no, and Mike, that's actually what the goal of this video was. I at the very beginning I explained what a legal pilot and legal drone should be doing, and then what what's being done. Even if you didn't have a license, you're just goofing off. A 5, 10, 15-foot wingspan drone is a $20,000 investment. Okay. Now you could be rich and crazy, but not everywhere. There wouldn't be this many. There's something going on, and I think what happened is maybe 10% of these sightings are actually drones, but people are starting to panic, and now everything in the sky at night is a drone when it really isn't. And then if you're near a military base like Fort Dix in Jersey, they've got all their shit flying around. I also went earlier in the video, I showed the aviation maps in the area where a lot of them are seeing, and there are military bases there. So could the military be using the drones, or could the drones be spying on the bases? I could see it either way. But yeah, if it was somebody spraying anything over population should be a public knowledge always. Monica, absolutely, and that's something I pointed out. You're not supposed to fly over a populated area as a legal and law-abiding drone pilot. Now I can get a waiver and say, "Hey, I want to fly over the town to take surveys." It's doable, but not out of nowhere. And if you're spraying anything, like I said, the farms can get a license to spray over their acreage to a given altitude and a given width of area. If they suddenly decide to fly the spray drone over town, even if they don't spray anything, they can get a major fine because there's the potential for the drone to drop contaminants on people or crash and hurt someone. So anyone flying a really big drone over a populated area is not only breaking the law, they're either really rich and stupid or they're up to no good because that's a $10,000-$20,000 drone. They're super expensive. Okay, in Cold War, there's a good point, Picatinny. Um, there's a lot. Hey, Jason, what's going on? There's a lot going on. But again, as I pointed out earlier, all of the things that they're reporting, flying at night, turning off their light, flying over population, flying over 100 miles an hour or 87 knots, flying above 55-pound drones. Because once you get over like 4 or 5 feet, you're over 55 pounds. I can tell you that much. Uh, 12, 15, and flying very expensive drones, turning the lights off when police spot you. All of these things are illegal. If I do them, I lose my license. So if someone's doing all this, either they're very rich and they don't care and they're crazy, or there's something going on. And so I just wanted to give you guys, and that's why when I started the video, I gave my background as well as what a legal drone pilot should do, because I wanted you guys to have a basis, like a baseline baseline. Like, okay, this is what should be going on, and this is what's happening up here, and that's not right. Now, what's going on? We could have a whole video on that, but I just wanted to give you folks crap I'm on and remote controlled war drones. Hey, modern refugee, what's going on? Uh, why would you have big blinking lights if you're hiding it? Well, Jason, the thing is, they had blinking lights, but then when the police helicopter got close to them, they turned them off. That's illegal. And some of the flights were in Class B airspace, like near LaGuardia or near Newark. That's illegal unless you get clearance from FAA, right? Because I'm in a Class C area, so I have a Class C airport near me. If I spin my drone up, even if I'm only 200 feet and I'm under the controlled airspace, right? Because it's kind of like a birthday cake. I have to do a video to explain it. But there are tiers as you get closer to the airport, the control space gets lower and lower because so the planes can land. Even if I'm under controlled airspace, I still have to let the tower know through the software, hey, I'm flying a drone at 200 feet in this area. And they put a NOTAM, which is a notice to airmen, saying, hey, there is a pilot, drone pilot in this area operating under 200 feet. That way, if like one of the work helicopters, because there are work helicopters out here, or a ranch chopper is flying by, he doesn't smack into my drone. And now we have a drone and a helicopter crash, because then there would be all sorts of shit for me, right? If I don't declare where I am. So, so, yeah. So again, to modern refugees' point, size of a refrigerator, a big drone like that, that's a $10,000 buy. That is not cheap. If I had a big refrigerator-sized drone, like one of those big commercial ones, I would be very particular in obeying the rules because I don't want not only do I not want my drone confiscated and I get a fine, I don't want the Air Force to shoot the damn thing down and now I'm out 10 grand, 20 grand. If it was a business, like if it was Amazon testing their delivery drones, they could just make a public statement. Hey, we're going to be testing delivery drones, and this is where we'll be flying. There's no need for the companies to hide it. And that's why, the more boxes I check, what we're seeing, what's being reported is not right. What they're doing is contrary to almost every rule that a licensed drone pilot should obey. And no, during the license for me, I'll go under 249 grand. So Hudson, you're still restricted even if you're under 249. You can't 400 feet, or you're not supposed to. They can't fine you if they figure out your drone went there. You're still not allowed to fly over other people unless you have authority or permission. But legally speaking, with a license, if someone says, "Oh, take a picture of my property or take video of my property," I can legally charge them as a licensed pilot, saying, "Here, this is my service fee," and they can pay me. I don't get in trouble. Um, that doesn't mean you can't do the Venmo app thing in the background, right? But just saying it opens doors as far as business opportunity. Because think like I don't know, like a refinery is not going to hire a guy who doesn't have a license, right? But because you have the license, they'll pay you a lot more for the commercial side. So, it's a trade off. To me, this was supposed to be like a retirement side hustle, even though I'm far from retirement, or I get laid off tomorrow and, then I have a side hustle, right? But yeah, if you're not interested in doing commercial shit and you just want to do it for fun for yourself, you could just get a little drone, get the DJI Mini or not the Holy Stone 600, and they're itty bitty little guys. Everything over the 700 has a transponder in it. So I have to register my transponder. So if the FAA sees it, I should already have cleared it with them. Like, hey, drone, 12345 is flying here, and then they'll see my transponder and say, oh, there's 12345 is where he's supposed to be. Also, they can notify me. They'll call or text me from air traffic control if something happens and they're like, hey, a plane's having an issue. He's going to come right through where you are. Then I can land my drone and get the hell out of the way. But yeah, uh, two over her house last night. See, in Cold War, this is what's by these places. Thank you, Donald. I appreciate you. Um, Get the pro version if you buy one. Yeah, and honestly, Hudson, if you decide to get your license, it also allows you to legally go places where a recreational can't, and then you can collect footage and do other fun stuff. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I had a direction I was going to go with it. If you're just doing it for fun, man, just get a cheap one, play with it when you get good at it. That way, if you crash it, you're not out a bunch of money, and then get a better one. And for me personally, I already have two. I have a medium sized one. He's a big guy too, the KF, and then I have the HS 720, which is a little guy. And it's cool because I can program the drone. It'll pull up a map of where I am. Say I'm in the park and I'm like, I want to go over the baseball field, the football field, the tennis courts, and back to me. And I start filming, and he just does a little route all by himself. And I just watch him, make sure he goes the right way. Every now and then he gets stupid and he decides to like land somewhere dumb, and I have to go catch it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Drones are very useful. I think from preparedness standpoint, barring getting everything EMP'd and fried, um, if the EMPs would affect that small an electronic device, if it's stored somewhere, it's a great tool to understand the lay of your property, directions of water flow, damage if you have damage to your property. There are a lot of good uses for the drones. But anyway, let me get back to the chat here. Super strength slingshot. I don't know. Probably if you hit someone with the pellet, you miss the drone and whack someone on the head, they'd be upset with you. But yeah, I saw that Cold War. Um, he's trying to sell off all the components for the walls so that somebody can buy them and then bid it out back to the government for double the price. So yeah, what a hot mess that guy is. 9/11 2.0 in slow motion. Pilgrim, doesn't it? It does feel like it's all slow motion stuff. Like we've just been watching. You ever see someone dropping a cake and they're like, and you're like, oh shit, but you don't know which way to go to help them? And they slowly go to the ground and then the cake goes everywhere. That's basically what I feel like. They are great surveillance tools if you can get up above like 50, 100 feet. I know my drone after 50 feet, you don't even hear it. So, Donald, absolutely. And we talked about that. It could be foreign operatives. It could be I see. Somebody was speculating, well, it could just be assholes with drones, but the big drones are expensive. If I spent 10 grand on a drone, I'd want my license so I could charge for, dropping electronic, dropping equipment or doing cargo, whatever it is I'm doing. I would want to take advantage of the fact that I just spent 10 grand on a freaking big drone or 20 grand. I wouldn't want to fly it illegally and get it taken by the police. Like, if you're doing that, like I said, you're either rich and crazy or you're up to no good of some type. Legally speaking, they're not supposed to do that. I can't. If I do that, I'll probably get in trouble. So, um, you know what? If you got fishing line tangled in it, you could bring it down. Kind of like when you throw when you throw your bait too high and the freaking seagulls try to grab your bait and they get into the fishing line, and then you have to unthread those angry assholes. But and yeah, Kentucky, if they've been going out to sea, it's not inconceivable. I showed earlier drone in a box technology, and it just opens and it deploys. Who's to say there's not a container ship out there where one of the containers, the roof opens and the drones come out and they do whatever the hell they're doing and they all come back. And if they think, oh, the drone's going to get caught, you kamikaze the drone into the ground and just be done with it. So hard to see, hard to say. But in any case, folks, I wanted to give you guys some baseline information, real information about what should be done if you're a drone owner, whether you're private, just having fun with it, or recreational license or commercial license, the full blown FAA, what your regulations should be. So you can compare that to what we're getting told is happening on the East Coast. Because what I'm hearing, if it's accurate, is not what they're supposed to be doing. A lot of it is illegal in the first place. It's a good way to get arrested. It's a good way to get a fine, have your drone knocked out of the sky. And yes, they have anti-drone drones that are basically built with this big thing on under it, and they just come over and smack your drone and knock the props off and knock it down. The Ukrainians and Russians are using those against each other. It's called the Anvil drone or something like that. So yeah, wouldn't satellites see where they take off from to and go back to? Farmer, they would if the satellites knew where to look. They're so small. Like if we knew, okay, cargo ship 125 is deploying drones and the satellite's looking at it, but they're so small that if they once they go up, if they scatter, they have almost zero radar and they don't run hot, especially now that it's cold up north. You may or may not see the heat from those little motors over the cold of the water, if that makes sense. So they're just so small, it makes it really hard. But in any case, folks, I'm going to leave you with that. I hope this was useful. I hope it at least gave you some valuable, real information about what should be done with drones, what the legal laws are, what the regulations are. And then now going forward, you guys can compare that information to what you're hearing in the news and ask yourself, why the hell would someone do this? Why would you take a $20,000 drone and fly it illegally over a military base unless you're up to no good? That's just my opinion. But folks, be safe out there. Be careful. Pay attention. Don't panic. But understand how things come together. Again, if one of these drones crashes into an airplane, damages an airport in some way, it's going to shut down airports. That's absolutely going to screw up the economy for 2 weeks. And then there would be the panic buying, right? Because people would be like, "Oh, alien drones," and they're gonna buy all the toilet paper again. Be informed. If we're aware of how things can pan out, then we stay a step ahead of the game, so to say. So anyway, folks, be good, be safe. Thank you, and don't forget to leave a comment, a like, and all that fun stuff. And you guys take care of yourselves out there. Be careful. I think tonight Mad Shad is on. It's only Mad Chat that I know of. If anyone else is on, feel free to put it in the comments below the video. You guys take care of yourselves. Be careful. Be safe. And we'll see you later on.